When did you realize your friends were actually fake friends? Whenever we were supposed to hang out, something came up and that something was hanging out with other mutual friends. When I slowly realized I was only around for chores and errands, rides to the airport, pick up furniture, help move. Anything social always resulted in either last-minute cancellations, showing up 45 minutes late and bolting after 10 minutes. I thought they were busy, but no. They stopped inviting me to hang out. They would ask me to drive them to parties, but not invite me to go to the parties. They basically ghosted me for a while. They were once such amazing and important friends, but they gradually became really arrogant. It took away longer than it should have to give up and find other people. When I was babysitting her kids, things were going great. We would hang out all the time, have movie nights and just talk and chill. But the second she no longer needed a babysitter was the second I got kicked to the curb. No explanation, not even a text back. Some people will act like your best friend until they no longer need you. They're lost though. Went to pick up my Xbox 360 a friend was borrowing. And our whole group of friends were there. They had spent the entire day playing games with snacks and pizza. And I had not been invited. And now I was in the situation of being the douche who takes the ball home and ruins the fun for everyone. I took my Xbox and never spoke to anyone in that group again. When I was in school, all my friends and I did different A-levels. Despite us all having different lessons to each other, they would wait for each other to go to lunch together, but they would always forget me. Like I'd come out and they wouldn't be there, so I'd have lunch by myself, and then they'd come back and tell me they thought I was with them. I was the only one they didn't wait for. I've only seen one of them since we left school. She had forgotten my name, so that sucked. When my phone got stolen and I lost their phone numbers, mine stayed the same, but we just never talked again. When I traded in my truck for a smaller, more eco-friendly vehicle, communication plummeted now that I can't haul furniture around, assist with moving as much, dispose of garbage, etc. When they stopped contacting me when I stopped drinking. When I went through a divorce and was down to $700. Most difficult period and weeded out all those who friended me for my generosity because I was well settled. Started over and have like 2 true good friends. Edit. Thank you all for your well wishes and wisdom-filled comments. Incredible how sometimes you get more support and well wishes from strangers than folks who led you to believe to be your well wishers. I was invited to the bachelorette party for one of the friends in this group. While at the party, I figured out that I was the only person not invited to the wedding. I had been invited to the party because they needed another person to chip in for expenses. After my divorce, we were couples friends, not individually. One friend stopped replying to my texts right after we graduated from college. Like the same week we graduated, so I was pretty much just a study buddy that they kept close to keep me helping them. Once high school ended, I heard about all the rumors they made up about me. My friends from high school all unfollowed me when I graduated college. I'm the only one who no longer lives in our hometown. The group made plans to meet and hang out. I was getting ready in the salon. A couple of friends had to back out for some reason. The other friend then made excuses of his own. And I could tell. I tried cajoling him and offer ways for him to go, but he basically decided to cancel the entire group meet-up. It was my birthday. Finding out they have an inner circle group chat, but I'm the only one not in it. I wouldn't say I have fake friends, but I am definitely the periphery friend. The majority of the time, if there isn't enough tickets or space in the car for everyone to go do something, I'm the one who gets cut out. It doesn't bother me much, but I wish they would be more mindful when talking to me about things we have done. Remember when we went to see XXX? Wasn't that fun? Well, no, because I wasn't invited. In those situations it usually gets awkward, or they say, hey, we would have invited you if we had the tickets, space, etc. When I returned to work after being off for 3 months due to an injury, and I practically begged them to go grab a beer and do pub trivia, but all 3 of them passed because they had plans. Well, it turns out their plans were to go grab a beer and do pub trivia. Without me. Found out through social media. Deleted it shortly afterwards. I've been a lot less depressed about things since I've deleted social media and stopped looking at them as friends and just as work acquaintances. It took that for me to realize that the friendships were really one-sided, and I'm better off not pursuing anything other than being cordial at work. This was quite a few years ago. My ex and I were really friendly with another couple, did a ton of stuff together. Then they moved, not far. And fairly shortly after my ex and I separated, they hung out with me for a few months but then stopped calling. A few years later, I ran into both of them at a race, an ultra marathon, and they both pretended like they didn't know me. That was actually a really painful moment. When you lose your worth to them, for instance, you are going through a dark period in your life, then they just leave like you are a worthless bag of dust. I was at a party, really depressed after a bad breakup and got drunk. My abusive ex showed up, caught me somewhere alone and hit me. I begged several friends for help since I was too drunk to drive home alone and they ignored me. My ex-best friend was there, completely sober and refused to drive home with me because she didn't believe he would do that. There's no Uber or anything in my country, by the way. The whole thing escalated. One guy the first didn't know ended up finding me alone in a field crying and throwing up. Brought me back to the house, built a bed out of blankets for me and sat guard all night to make sure my ex wouldn't do anything again. When I realized I was the one always calling, then I stopped and friends disappeared. My so-called friends invited me to a party, and then at the last moment, they texted the group that no one's coming and the party is cancelled. Well, they had the party that day. Everyone went there. They just had decided they didn't want me there cause I was boring and not a fun person. So they told me that there was no party happening. It hurt a lot. It was a terrible day for me. When my longtime friend called me and said, "Hey, can you hang out? No one else can." When you try to open up and try to share a genuine conversation about something going on in your life and all they can do is crack jokes and try to get you to go out drinking with them, made me realize how surface level many friendships really are. Then you have the opposite of that. 3 guys I've known since I was a freshman in high school, been friends for over 15 years, have stayed in touch through all of us getting married, having kids, and moving to completely separate areas or the country. Yet whenever we're within an hour of each other we always make a point to get breakfast and catch up. This usually turns into 3+ hour conversations. This may only happen once or twice a year, but I consider those guys my best friends. That's real friendship and I'm fortunate to have them. When I got sober, 7 months today, edit. I always promised myself I wouldn't edit to say thank you, but here we are. Thank you for all the love and kind words. It's brought several tears to my eyes. Was once told, I'm trying to hang out with my real friends. 'Twas an oof. When they ghosted me after 17 years of close friendship, I still have no idea what I did wrong. And for extra salt in the wound, it was right after I spent a week eating instant noodles because I donated every cent I had to one of them for her cancer treatment GoFundMe. Hurt more than any relationship breakup. Edit. For all those asking, yes, she definitely has cancer. No, she didn't die. And given that it was more than one person who ghosted me and that the cancer friend still maintains an active social life with everyone else but me, it's probably not for reasons related to her ordeal. They would invite each other to places in front of me and not include me in the slightest. When I ditched them they didn't know how to take it. Lol. Damn bro, this thread has taught me that people are really city. My best friend of 10 years called on my wedding day to say she couldn't make it because she was just so sad about her recent divorce. Turns out, she just had a date. Our whole friendship was fake. It just took me to that point to realize it. 1 friend at university tried to steal my animation coursework, claim it as his own and get me kicked out for stealing his work. However, I had help setting things up by one of my tutors, professors, for me to film the coursework. So he instead got expelled and blacklisted from the university and any other university in the UK doing the same subject. The people running all the animation degrees in every university in the UK, back then, knew each other and talked to each other regularly as it a small community. I think there were less than half a dozen universities with animation degrees back then. This was 20-ish years ago now. Edit. Grammar and spelling. My friends made a Facebook account for a fake girl who was transferring to our school, and full-on catfished me, only revealing it was a scam when I arrived at a movie theater to meet her. Was I dumb? Yes. Were they city? Undoubtedly. For me it was when I got in some deep trouble and they all just cast me aside without even giving it a second thought. I realized this when I invited all of them to go to the movies with me and they all said they couldn't go. I then found out through one of them that they went to see that movie the same day, and when I asked then why they didn't tell me they were going they said, "We just wanted to go together." It broke my heart. I stopped smoking weed and they stopped coming round. Edit. That's a lot of upvotes. I'm sorry so many of you seem to have had similar experiences. You'll make new friends if you haven't already. To the people saying there's nothing wrong with this, then I'd like to respectfully disagree. These were people I considered close friends. It wasn't just some guys and gals I shared a hobby with. Please don't be so quick to judge when you have very little context. This is a good post because it has the potential to help a lot of people. In college I remember hanging out with a group of people like the ones on this thread. They were also my roommates for 3 years. Every year, we'd throw a fun party for everyone's birthday but mine. They didn't even know when mine was. After I graduated and looked back on it, I realized they were never my friends. I don't even hear from them anymore. I spent 4 years socializing with the wrong people. And if I had just hung out with the people that I had led to believe were nerds, or annoying, or who I had more things in common with, I would likely have had a much more fun time in undergrad. Good thing I have much better friends than just the ones I made back then. When they didn't wait for me whilst I did my shoelaces. When I ran out of cocaine. I had a friend in college who displayed some pretty troubling tendencies, quick to anger, very insecure, paranoid about friendships and relationships in general. She became one of my roommates after she failed to get into a sorority she rushed that most of her real friends were in. After a pretty tumultuous few months of her constant breachy and angry behavior, I realized her toxicity. Anyway, upon graduating she reunited with her actual friends and I never heard from her again. Never felt so relieved honestly, but it still hurt a bit that I could be so disposable to someone. After graduating high school. Then once again after graduating college. I think graduation is the ultimate test of true friends versus the people who were drinking buddies or people you hung out with because you all disliked the same cliques. I had a pickup. It was amazing how many friends didn't want to hang out with me after I got rid of it. Got a call about 6 months after I had traded the pickup off on a car. My friend was like, "Hey, long time no talk." So we talked for a few minutes. He goes, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "I'm going to wash my new car." I had heard he was moving and of course he wasn't aware that no longer had the pickup. He ended the conversation not too long after that. Never heard from that friend again. After the 4th time they arranged a get-together on days they knew I was busy, and only would try and organize things after I'd said I was busy, and never turned up to anything I organized. In my 4th year of high school I found out a large portion of my friends had been meeting every single week for the past 4 years to watch Community together. In 4 years of high school they never once brought it up, or invited me. Similarly, at the end of my 4-year uni program, I saw on Snapchat that 99% of my program was throwing a huge house party and no one invited me. When they walked past me crying and pretended I didn't exist. On this note, if anybody wants a new friend, hit me up. When they roll their eyes behind your back, I swear, some people don't have peripheral vision. When they thought it was lame that I decided to get sober. A lot of so-called friends aren't real friends. They're more like acquaintances. People you know and are civil with. There's at least one that is fake. Though, he or she has you in their life solely to benefit from. It can be financially. It can be emotionally. It can just be because he or she thrives on your failures. Some people keep you around as something to gawk at. Harsh but true. Middle school. I hung out with a group who treated me like dog sit. I was always the one getting made fun of. The group punching bag. That sort of thing. I hung out with them because they were the only friends I had. Then I woke up one day and realized they all sucked. So at lunch I went up to them, told them they were all digheads. I got laughed at, but I went and sat alone. I was alone all the way until junior year of high school when I told my parents that the big city wasn't for me. So my amazing parents sacrificed everything and moved up to Montana. I showed up to a small school and didn't know a soul. I decided to join the football team. That was the best choice I ever made. I met all new friends, who I'm still friends with 15 years later. I was wondering why the house was so quiet in the morning. Didn't hear anyone move about in their rooms or come through the front door. Lunchtime passed and I realized that they all had gone. They come back in the evening after spending a day at the beach together. I died a little inside, but I didn't get sunburned, so I had that going for me. When I had a mental breakdown and found out I was bipolar, as I healed and started growing and learning, some of my closest friends didn't stick around. It's like they would rather have watched me crash and burn than grow and heal. When one of them tried to kiss me and I dodged. So later he held my head in place and planted one right on my lips, then got me kicked out of the group by telling everyone I tried to force myself on him. When my best friend became close with the guy who abused me for 2 years, she knew everything, and still formed that friendship anyway, and when confronted about it, she said he was a nice guy who was misunderstood, that my abuse never happened, and that my other friend, who had integrity and reached out to me with screenshots when he attempted to contact her, was making him look bad. She threw away a 4-year friendship in that moment. She was also sending him screenshots of our private conversations and updating him about me when he has a new girlfriend. Edit. They weren't having an affair. They only became really close a year after the breakup, which was around the same time he started to reach out to a bunch of my other friends to manipulate them. When I fell asleep camping and heard endless shit talking about me, the guy was a jerk and bully to me. When I was awake, often, too. I'm surprised I put up with it for so long. It's hard when it's mixed it with genuine brotherhood and friendship. When I left their church at university college 4 years ago, I had some typical bro mates, *beep, *boy mates. It was alright that they were douchey because I was a douche at the time myself. I managed to land myself my still current partner, beautiful, funny, smart. We had been dating for about 6 months. At this point, we went for a night out as you normally do. Couple days later, GF told me that one of my so-called mates tried hitting on her when I wasn't around. He played it off as just drunk, and I'm sorry bro. But GF had told me that he said to her, my GF's friend was there as a witness. By the way, that, me, doesn't need to know, kind of brought me to my senses. That I needed to grow up and move away from these idiots because they do not care about anyone but themselves. That was when I started seeing my other friend's attitude changing. I asked him what is happening, then he told me that a girl that I thought is my best friend talks shit about me with other people. I've told this story before, so I'll keep it really short. I called several friends to see if they wanted to hang out. Everyone said they were busy, family stuff, etc. Except one guy who said, tonight? But Lawrence, one of the friends in my circle, party is tonight, did you forget? I wasn't invited, and they posted pictures of it the next day. Thanks gang. When they told me I was being too emotional a month after my father passed away, I found a huge skeleton in my family closet and it messed me up for months. I explained to my friends I was going through a lot and it'll take time to talk about it. When it really did take some time. My friends were angry that I didn't trust them enough to go through it together. I did tell them after a couple months and I went to therapy for it, but they told me they didn't care if I got better. One friend's exact quote was, your existence bothers me. We were all roommates and I ended up moving out in secret because they were purposefully causing anxiety attacks, banging on my door at night, not letting me into the kitchen to eat, etc. When I told her I was suicidal and having panic attacks, never heard from her again. Fake friends is a phenomenon that evaporates in the adult world and is replaced by toxic relationships. Being jammed together with people in the same school or church or dorm means that you're connected together. You can be taken advantage of, ignored at a whim, or abused, and have to constantly interact with the people who would do it simply by being in the same space day after day. In the adult world, it's easier to cut people out of your life or lay the ground rules for your relationships. Toxic relationships form out of codependency or some other factor that makes you feel trapped. But people that you make friends with that drift apart with time is just the natural ebb and flow of life. When they made off with large amounts of my money and involved me in complex legal disputes which I could have gone to prison for. When one of them dated my sister and stopped talking to me. Look up the 2 beers and a puppy rule of thumb. Is this person someone I'd have 2 beers with, but not trust my puppy? They're great to hang around and shoot the shit with, but probably a bit flaky on the more practical things. Would you trust your puppy to them, but not want to have 2 beers with them? Solid person to fall on for practical assistance. Even if they're a bit of a dick, you'd want both with them? Great friend. Neither? Really rethink this relationship. When I realized that what he really wanted was to use me to break into my circle of friends and claim them for himself. When they didn't support me after my dad passed away, I didn't ask for much attention, but they were too ignorant. When I broke up with my long-term boyfriend, the guy the first thought had been my best friend of 3 years gave me 2 weeks before saying, is it my turn yet? Frocking garbage. I've seen a lot of posts regarding money. I'd suggest not loaning friends money. Give it to them or don't. IMHO. Because I'm not playing bank. How much does it bother you when you loan someone $20 then next week you see them post a photo with Starbucks? You got $8 for that coffee. Where's the $20 you owe me? When my spouse died and I was still sad and grieving at 3 months, I lost a couple friends, including one I'd been best friends with for 20 years. A few friends have been with me through it all, including potting up with during COVID. I really learned what friendship means. When I trusted them with a secret that was mega personal and they told others even though I begged them, trusted them to not tell, they did, and ruined my career and life basically after 18 years of being besties. I had a seizure and they would not drive me to the hospital because they had a brunch to attend. When she told me she was just being kind to me so I wouldn't kill myself. I deal with depression and she knew this. But she kinda blew it out of proportion and used me to make her feel better about herself, like she was doing a public service or some shit. The day I told all my friends and even family I was going to be a father, a lot fell off the tree. The day I had my daughter was the day everyone stopped responding and started ignoring all my texts and calls. Got kicked out some group chats. People started unadding me off social media and some off Facebook. Now I have a handful of childhood friends and some family members that still see me and my daughter as family. It is what it is, I ain't trippin'. When I realized that Discord bot is a bot. When school ended, the last one, friend, stopped texting me 2 months later. Never heard from them again. I read this as, when did you realize your friends were actually family? I wasn't prepared for the lack of uplifting stories. When I was fired. Because one in the circle was jealous of my success and started badmouthing me to everyone behind my back. Lost the job and the circle of friends. Even though I could, and did, proved that it was all lies, they still sided with the as-whole. Also, more than one I helped in rough times by finding jobs for them, getting them into the interviews. When I lost mine, they all ghosted me. Needless to say, they all just proved that a friend is just an as-whole who hasn't had time to backstab you yet. I noticed most of the conversations were started by me, and they just always hang out without me. Also, they told me, "Can you reduce being gay? It makes me uncomfortable cause I can't relate to it." So yeah. When I got divorced, apparently all of my friends were really my ex-husband friends. I haven't spoken to any of them in 6+ years. She encouraged me to apply for a job, got angry at me for getting the job and then ghosted me. I realized when the only time I'd hear from them is when they needed something from me. I had what I thought was a very good group of friends throughout high school and college. After college, the only time I'd hear from them was when something was broken, or they needed help, they got a new TV, and needed it set up, or their computer was acting up and wanted me to look at it, or they were drywalling their basement and needed a set of hands. Not once over the course of about a year was there a single call for, "Hey, you want to hang out tonight?" or, "Hey, let's go out for dinner." Quickly moved them into the acquaintance category. I'd say I probably have two true friends. The kind who I'd bail out of jail with no questions asked, or they'd help me hide a body if it ever came to that. When I invited everyone in the group chat out for my birthday drinks, M33, one person was on time. The rest of my friends decided to go fishing and arrived 4 hours later. When my girlfriend was rounding up the troops to carry on drinking at bar that closed later, I said WER would get a table and for them to catch us up. They just looked at me sort of vacantly because they hadn't finished their drinks. Because they turned up late, they bailed out without even saying goodbye. Great birthday. Put myself into therapy and stopped using social medias like Instagram. I went 2 months without having anyone check up on me. It's been almost 6 and still nothing. I moved on. Started looking after myself and caring about me. After reading these comments, I feel better about being someone who never got too close and doesn't have many friends. Jesus, what a bunch of horrible stories. When I didn't have something they all desired, something they could use me for, my real friends came around regardless of what I had. My wife needed to go to the airport. I didn't have a car. Uber is not cheap, so I asked my friend if they could drop us. Airport was on their way to the club they went on weekends. They agreed reluctantly but didn't call or show up when it was time to leave. I didn't call them as well as I got the feeling that they didn't want to help us. I was on my way to the bus stop to catch a bus when we bumped into them, now having no way out. They said they forgot and offered to drop. In the car they taunted us about buying a car. We didn't speak again after this incident. Asked my oldest friend to be my best man and he said he couldn't. Said he just wasn't into it. My parents have a beach house. I made a lot of friends in May and June. A couple years ago my wife and I bought a lake house with her older brother and his wife. All of a sudden a slurry of old friends came out of the woodwork again. I'm totally fine with sharing and inviting people over and all that fun human sit, but at least put us on your Christmas card list or wish us a happy birthday or frocking something other than, "Hey, what week can we come up?" Or my favorite, "Well, when will it be empty? We would love a private weekend to ourselves." Breach, this isn't a bed and breakfast. When I went bankrupt. Edit. Lost $2 million in net worth. Both my homes. The comments below tell the story. I learned the hard way. Who my friends were, and who were no friends at all. Drinking buddy who stopped responding when I had a kid. I used to be a mechanic, and it's staggering how many people were friends because they needed me to fix it for them. I could not say anything to them without them turning it into a fight over one thing or another. Culminated with them attempting to cancel me before they finally disappeared from my life.